In July 2001, 24-year-old Sharon Cleland crawled into a small cave opening in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Drawn by a cool draft of air, he ventured headfirst into the unknown. Just 10 feet down, disaster struck. The ground shifted, and tons of rock trapped him at the waist. His friends tried to dig him out, but the cave was too unstable. Rescue teams arrived, battling against time and the collapsing earth. For 24 hours, they fought to save him, but as they removed the last boulder, the cave made its final move. Before we dive into this tragic story, don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales of exploration and danger. This is the story of the unexpected tragedy at Cave Rockslide. Sharon Cleland was a 24-year-old out-of-work construction worker who was a keen adventurer and a passionate speleologist. One day in July 2001, he and his friends went hiking in the woods surrounding the Lancaster County Career and Technology Center. The group had spent the afternoon wandering, looking for something interesting. They weren't supposed to be there. A few no trespassing signs were posted nearby, but no one cared. It was just an empty stretch of land with trees, dirt, and a few old buildings from the school. Then Sharon saw it, a hole in the ground. It was small, just 30 inches high by 20 inches wide, not much bigger than a school backpack. The opening was dark, like a tunnel leading deep underground. Most people would have walked right past it, but something about it caught Sharon's attention. He imagined hidden tunnels, untouched for years. Sharon wasn't afraid of tight spaces. He had crawled into dark places before. He had worked in construction, squeezing into half-built walls, under floors, into unfinished basements. This was nothing new. So he dropped to his hands and knees and peeked inside. The entrance was rough, made of jagged rock and loose dirt. The air smelled like damp earth, cold and untouched. He could only see a few feet ahead before the darkness swallowed the rest. He told his companions that he was going to go check it out, but some of them protested. They pointed out that they never planned for caving. It was a reasonable argument, but Sharon persisted, saying he was only going to take a brief look to see what was inside and then come prepared another day for a proper exploration. They still didn't think it was a good idea, but Sharon didn't think twice. He pushed himself forward and disappeared into the hole. Sharon inched forward on his stomach, pulling himself deeper into the narrow passage. The walls were rough and uneven, scratching against his arms as he moved. Loose dirt and small rocks crumbled beneath him. The air was cooler now, thick with the smell of damp earth. But he had barely gone 10 feet when it happened. Without warning, the walls shifted. A deep, grinding sound filled the tunnel as the ground above him gave way. In an instant, rocks and dirt tumbled down, slamming into his back and pinning him in place. A sharp jolt of pain shot through his legs as heavy slabs of stone pressed down, trapping him from the waist down. Sharon tried to move. Nothing. He was stuck. Outside, his friends heard the collapse. At first, they didn't know what had happened. Then, they heard Sharon's muffled voice calling from below. Panic set in. They dropped to their knees and started digging, throwing handfuls of dirt and rocks behind them. But every time they pulled some away, more seemed to fall. The hole was unstable. The walls kept shifting, and there was a great chance that more rocks would fall on Sharon. They needed help, professional help, before it became worse. The 911 call went out. Within minutes, the first firefighters arrived, sirens cutting through the still afternoon air. They rushed into the woods carrying ropes, shovels, and medical gear. But as they saw the cave's entrance, they realized this was no ordinary rescue. This was dangerous. The opening was too small, and the ground too unstable. If they weren't careful, they could trigger another collapse. More help was called in. Soon, over 250 rescuers were at the scene. Firefighters, paramedics, and cave rescue experts. Some had come from many hours away. They knew time was running out. Sharon was still awake, still talking, but he was trapped, pinned under the crushing weight of the earth. The rescuers had one job: get him out before it was too late. They took turns squeezing into the narrow entrance, working in 30-minute shifts. The space was so tight that only 1 or 2 rescuers could fit inside at a time. They had to be careful. One wrong move and the entire cave could collapse again. The ground was treacherous. The cave was made of shale and limestone, weak and unstable. Every time they removed a rock, more dirt shifted, threatening to bury Sharn even deeper. It was like trying to stop an avalanche with their bare hands. To stabilize the space, they used whatever they could: inflatable airbags to lift heavy rocks, steel bars to hold the walls in place, and plastic sewer piping to create a protective tunnel around Sharn. But it was slow, back-breaking work. Sharn was still awake, but he was in pain. His legs were pinned under massive rocks, and the pressure was unbearable. He couldn't move, and his back and legs stung with pain. He could barely even breathe. So the rescuers gave him an oxygen mask to help him get air. They also inserted an IV line to keep him hydrated. Sharn was calm, but he was getting weaker. He knew what was happening. He knew the risks, but he held on. Additionally, as the rescuers worked, they were talking to him, comforting him. They held his hand when they could reach him. They touched his shoulder to let him know he wasn't alone. They whispered words of encouragement, telling him they were doing everything possible. Hours passed. Then night fell, but Sharn was still trapped. After nearly 24 hours of digging, lifting, and bracing, the rescuers had reached the final obstacle: a massive boulder pinning Sharn's lower body. It was the last thing holding him in place. If they could move it, he would be free. Carefully, they chipped away at the rock. Every movement had to be precise. The cave was dangerously unstable, like a delicate house of cards. One shift in the wrong direction and everything could come crashing down. A rescue worker was inside with Sharn, carefully working to loosen the boulder. Others stood outside, watching, waiting. They had come so far. They were so close. Then, at 2:15 p.m., the earth moved. A deep rumbling sound filled the cave. The walls groaned, and before anyone could react, everything collapsed. Tons of dirt and rock thundered down in an instant, swallowing Sharn whole. The team called out to him, but there was no response. They listened for any sound, any sign that he was still alive, but there was nothing. Sharn Cleland was gone. The rescuer inside the cave barely survived. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more like this on Truly Tragic.